season will be here before we know it, and with it comes a lot of waste, from fruit containers to costumes to decorations. So it's important to know what we can actually recycle. And here to help us out with that is Micah. He's the waste reduction educator at the Kent County Department of Public Works. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I appreciate it. Well, I feel like this is a really important topic to talk about, because I feel like with each different season of the year, there's different things that we're using, and then there's questions come up of, can we recycle it or can we not? So really quick, what is the purpose for you guys of putting out the fall recycling guide?
Well, kind of just like you were talking about, every season means that people are kind of interacting with the stuff they use on an everyday basis in a different way, whether that is the foods that they're creating or making, the items that they're buying, or even the way that they're interacting with their homes, whether it's a clean out time or they're going through their yard waste. There's just a whole lot of different things that they're going to come in contact with. So what we do is we try to think about what kind of items people are going to be using on a daily basis, and whether or not they have the ability to recycle them in a traditional curbside bin, or if we have maybe other options for them to make sure that they could possibly put it somewhere else that's not like a recycling, or excuse me, the trash bin.
Yeah, I think it's great too that you actually put this online. So what are actually some of the things that are on this list for the fall season?
Right, so what we do is we kind of split it up into two parts. The first part would be, what are those items that are always accepted at a recycling center such as ours, and how do those kind of match up with the things that you're going to come in contact with in a fall season? So when it comes to the recyclable materials, if we're talking about paper products, what kinds of paper products are people going to come in contact with, whether that is kind of like a box that might have held apples, or a box that held pastries, or it could be cans or pie tins, all those items. Glassware that might have had different juices in them, or plastic containers that had juices or different types of foods or things like that, that people are going to come in contact with more often now. And then we have another list that we put together that might not necessarily be things that can go into your curbside recycling bin, but also things that maybe they could find an alternative way to get rid of that wouldn't be in a landfill. So oftentimes people are cleaning out their garage. They might have a lot of chemicals that they're coming into contact with, and oftentimes people don't necessarily know where that can go and be safe, and they don't want to put it down the drain, they don't want to put it in the ground. And we have 5 safe chem drop-off locations in the county that are free to residents, and we want to make sure that they have an option to get those chemicals to a place where they'll get disposed of properly and safely. Other things that they might come in contact with are their scrap metals that they have in their garages, or other items that they might be able to recycle, but they have to take them to a special drop-off that would be able to take them and make sure they don't get into a landfill.
Another thing too that I thought was interesting, costumes and wigs, that you guys tend to see a lot of those go through. What's another option that we could do once we're done with, those for Halloween?
Those are the ones that people have to get a little more creative about.
Right.
Costumes, wigs, heavy clothing that people might be going through and realizing that it's a little too small this year or something like that, or it's got a little bit of wear and tear. Textiles is a really large and growing stream that goes into the waste system that doesn't necessarily have a recyclability right now. The best option for textiles, such as costumes and wigs and then other clothing, is going to be a reuse or a hand-me-down, or give it to somebody who could use it, take it to a Goodwill, or even just use it as rags so that it's not ending up into the landfill before it gets the ultimate amount of use out of it. So definitely take that wig and see if somebody on Facebook might want to take that off your hands, or somebody else might be interested in just using it for some playtime with a kid or something.
Yeah, and a quick question too, is it true that all recycling actually goes into the landfill here in Kent County?
That's a question that we just get a lot. I actually field that question quite a bit, either through email or phone calls, and we really do want to make sure that people understand that recycling is a very local issue. And when it comes to Kent County, if your items do come to our facility at the Kent County Recycling and Education Center, we do go through a lot of pains to make sure that the items that come through are in fact going to an endpoint of being recycled. We like to say that 90% of the materials that come through our facility that have a recyclability will in fact get recycled and made into a brand new product. So when people hear those types of statistics or anything like that stating, oh, it all just goes to the landfill or it goes into the ocean, we like to say, well, take a look at where your recycling specifically goes, because when people are actually looking at the end point of their materials, then they'll actually see oh, and this is now I know where it goes, because trash isn't going to travel too far. It's going to probably stay local, and if it's a recyclable, oftentimes it's going to get to the place where it's going to be made into a new product.
Yeah, and I think it's really simple as well. To learn more about it, all we need to do is go to reimaginetrash.org. Also, you see the drop-off site address there as well, and they're also on Facebook and Instagram.